Welcome everybody to Salesperson of the Month podcast for February. I'm delighted to say I've got Danielle Morris joining me today. Danielle, good morning. How are you?
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, well, I just had an absolute mare. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I'm pretty good apart from that. How are you?
Yes, I'm all good. It's Friday. It's not raining. Yeah, all good.
It's raining here.
What is
So
it?
you'll probably do down your end in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it will come, I'm sure.
So first of all, first time winner. Actually, since we've been doing this podcast, we've had a first time winner every month, and I'm sure there's some cynical people out there going, well, it's fixed. It's not. I think it actually shows you're a pretty good team because there's someone new stepping up every single month. So first question from me, tell everyone a bit about you, what vendors you work with, how long you've been at Distology. Off you go.
Yeah, of course. So I actually started at Distology last July. I actually started in the midst of the pandemic. So it was a bit of a crazy time. I actually got made redundant just before. So to be able to kind of secure a new role in a global pandemic with a company that was still kind of hiring, it was amazing. So obviously really, really lucky to have landed the job. And also on top of that, it's an awesome job. I love it. I look forward to working every day, which I don't know if it's quite sad, but I do. So since obviously I started at Distology, I've been working for a couple of vendors, but now I actually head up the Ubico team. So that's kind of where my sole focus is.
Fantastic. And you make an interesting point because I always say it sounds quite depressing, but you spend most of your adult life at work. So you've got to do something you enjoy and you feel part of. So it's nice to hear that because you do spend a lot of time there. So
yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's really, really important because like you say, you do spend most of your life working. So if you're not enjoying it, then what are you doing? Because, we've only got one of these lives and I think it's really, really important to just enjoy it as most as we can. So yeah, having a job that you enjoy, going to, it really does help.
Yeah, totally agree. Right, you must have seen these before. It's time for the quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I think.
Questions coming up. Number one, what's your favourite song?
Oh my, it would be.
Quick fire questions, Danielle.
Yeah, these are fast. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams.
Okay, didn't expect that left field, but good song. Question two, most used emoji, and it's a family show. Remember?
Definitely the side laughing face that's like this.
Yeah, very good. Very good. If there was a movie made about your life, who would play you?
So I would like to say someone really cool. Maybe someone like Jennifer Aniston. I think she's a babe.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I just would be her more or less. So yeah, we'll go.
Pretty good, and yeah, definitely Hugh Grant for me, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, good. Who's the office wind-up merchant?
Wind-up merchant, I would probably say Ollie Spence.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, Ollie's good in very small doses, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But also, the first time I met him, I think he just ripped me, and I just laughed. And then he saw that I could probably take it. So now we have good banter, and I've probably not even spent that much time with him since I've started.
Lucky you. Question 5: what was the last text you sent?
Last text was actually to my brother to say that I'd organised some Mother's Day flowers for my nan.
Very nice, and thank you for the reminder. Very useful.
It's tomorrow.
Very useful. So, of course, you've been at Distology for nearly a year now, and people work on different vendors, and people have got different strategies in terms of how they go into their vendors because vendors are at different levels of maturity, and that means partners are too. So, if you were to build a Frankenstein's monster of 3 traits other people in the team have got, what would you take off each of those persons to make that Frankenstein's monster?
I would say, obviously in this kind of industry, you need to be agile. You need to be trustworthy. You've got to have that kind of rapport and trusted with your vendors and your partners. I think it's really, really important. But also proactive. You've got to be on top of everything, especially when you've got competition. You've got to make sure that you're standing apart from the rest. So
yeah, perfect. As we all know, Frankenstein is the creator, not the monster. Did you know that? You must have known that.
Yeah, I think so. I think I did listen in my English at school.
Okay, keeping on that topic, yeah. I'm a big scaredy cat, but I quite like horror films. But have you noticed there's not many decent horror films in the last few years? The only one I've seen which is good, I don't know if you saw it, it's called Host.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I do agree. Like, I think films nowadays, they're all kind of American weirds, like poltergeist stuff that's really unrealistic.
Yeah.
But the worst scary film I think was Carrie, the original.
Okay, yeah.
With the pig's blood and the eyes.
Well, yeah, I recommend Host because you'll never go on a Zoom call again without sort of looking over your shoulder to see who's behind you. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Oh, God, horrible. I'm just going to
look. Of course, we're a value-added distributor. Every distributor in the land says a value add, and we get a lot of cynical vendors and sometimes partners too going, well, everyone says you add value. What does that actually mean? So, what does that mean to you? How do you think we add value as Distology?
I think probably the time and the effort that we put in. We look at our partners and our vendors very carefully. We go about it in a strategic way, but I would like to say that we make them feel special, and I think that's the value added. We go above and beyond. Even little things like if we can't get things shipped out, we'll do everything we can to do it. We'll go in there ourselves. We'll post it ourselves, and I think that's kind of where we set apart from the rest.
Yeah, I completely agree. As we're growing, we've had rapid expansion. Of course, the great news on the investment. What we're very conscious of is keeping that agility. I think I say this on every podcast, but if Haley heard me say this, she'd probably kill me. But we never like to say no to anything. The first answer is never no. We'll find a solution for whatever it is, and we'll be flexible. I think we'll always keep that at the heart of everything we do, because for me, that's what makes us so successful.
Absolutely. And I think when you do start saying no to things, that's what makes people kind of look elsewhere. And that's when you'll start to lose business. So, I think it's really, really important to kind of just cater for the needs, within reason. But yeah. Yeah.
If I was asked to ask one of the partners you work with, how would you describe Danielle, or what do you think of Dan? Yeah. What do you think they would say?
I would definitely say enthusiastic, personable, and loyal. I like to say I am a Taurus, so I think that's naturally one of my characteristics.
Are you getting into star signs?
Yeah, I am. I am quite. I'm not like a weirdo, super into the horoscopes. I don't read the magazines, but I am into kind of more the spiritual side and the moon and the effect that it has on our moods, and it has the effect on the sea. I mean, that's quite a strong power. I used to know someone who used to move their bed around the room depending where the moon was. Something to do with the tide, and apparently they used to get headaches. I obviously thought it was a bit weird. I'm not sure if I'm. Don't move your bed around the room, do you? Depending. No. Okay, great. So, sum up Distology in 3 words. Fresh, agile, energetic.
Fresh, I like it. It's like
what I mean by fresh, I know that's kind of like you're probably thinking of fresh, but in terms of kind of, the breath of fresh air, like throughout the business, I think everyone's just got a really kind of fresh outlook, and I think that's really, really important when you're kind of into the next stage of kind of growing your business. Everyone's, new, fresh. There isn't any kind of old, middle-aged men.
Sat right here.
Yeah, no, you're
but no, I think you're right, and I think what's important for us as a business, we have to keep reinventing ourselves and doing things differently, because if you stay the same, you get left behind. So I think what's great, especially in the sales team, is we're actively encouraging everyone to come up with ideas of how we can do things differently. It's not a case of it's what Steve Rowlands says or whatever. It's a very inclusive thing, and if you guys want to try something, we'll try it. Sometimes it doesn't quite work, but as long as we learn from it, we're happy. So I think to keep it fresh is as much as on everyone, not just sort of the senior leadership team to do that.
Yeah, and I think obviously that's really, really clear throughout the business. I think it's really important, and it's great that we have such an input into how the business is run. And obviously, I've worked in businesses in the past, and it's so corporate, and you don't get a say at all. So to have this, it's really, really nice.
Cool. What does the future hold for Danielle Morris at Distology?
I would like to say my future is bright without sounding so cliche. But yeah, so for me, like when I joined, it wasn't a case of just a stopgap job. I think for me, I do see a future within the business. I don't, I'm getting old now anyway. So for me, progression is important, and that is what's offered at Distology. And I think that's really, really important. So.
Good. Okay. I bombarded you with plenty of questions. You get one question and one question only back to me. Anything you want within reason, ask away.
So if you could have 5 people around your table for dinner, who would it be?
Wow, that's a really good question. 5 people.
From the past, dead, alive.
Okay. I'd have my gran. Love my gran to bits. Missed her heavily over lockdown, so my gran would be number 1. Michael Jordan, big fan. I'm sure we all saw The Last Dance. Extremely driven guy and very interesting guy too. So that's 2. God, my mum. I would have my mum. Probably not my dad, because my dad's a very picky eater. So I'd have my mum. So yeah, I love my mum to bits. And I actually love my dad to bits too. That's a bit weird. Who else? I'd have King Henry VIII. I'm a big, not big fan, because he was a bit of a terror, but I'm intrigued in that sort of area of time as well, that era, sort of, what it was like to sort of be king and how things all worked on that. So that's that one. And I don't know who else. Maybe someone like, it's going to sound really boring, but someone like Chris Whitty, to get quite a candid answer on what actually has gone on during the pandemic. I can imagine it's very difficult for him, where he probably can't express his true feelings sometimes, because there's a lot of politics involved as well. So it's probably the weirdest lineup you've probably heard. My grand sat next to Chris Whitty and King Henry VIII, but I think it'd be interesting. So
yeah, I'm just picturing what kind of conversation is going to come out from those 5. Interesting though.
And what I'm cook as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the next question, but I've only got one, haven't I? So.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Well, yeah, Danielle, really good performance in February. We're still waiting for the first person to do a repeat, so the game is on for March. We're into March now, so the opportunity is there. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think you've had a great first year at Distology. You've brought a lot to the team. I think it's just that energy and that confidence you give to partners and vendors, which is really good to see. So well done again for February, and thanks for joining me. So that is it for February's edition of Salesperson of the Month podcast. You can get us on all good podcast platforms, including iTunes. So make sure you share that with all your friends, Danielle. I'm sure they want to hear this conversation.
I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, there we go. You can watch it on YouTube too. If there's any further comments, questions on the podcast, on my weird answers, and probably Danielle's weirder answers, put them in the comments below. But thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you on March's edition.